Thanks for joining us on this wet Friday. Um, we are going to be talking today about identifying and avoiding employment scams. And we chose to offer that right around this time of year this semester because as we approach the end of the semester and scammers understand that students are anxious about looking for jobs and looking for internships, as we approach the end of the year, the scams will get more frequent. So we wanted to make sure and offer this to give everybody a chance at the start of the semester to get a glimpse of what scams look like, some ways to identify them, and then ways to avoid them, to report them. So, and always, of course, be ready to let us know if you have questions. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will try to answer them as we go. If you have any personal questions, like about your specific situation, hold them until the end and we will stick around and answer some questions afterward. Okay, so let's start off with the two types of scams you will generally see as a student. These will come from either people who are just thieves, or they will come from disreputable companies. And both of those we want to avoid. So in the middle, we can see here's what these folks are after. They want your money, they prey on student stressors, and they seem too good to be true. So these people will, if they are the thieves, they will try to solicit personal information. They will be doing phishing. They will ask you for favors. You will not have a very long interview, or you may have no interview with a person at all. When they contact you, they may immediately offer details about the benefits, about the salary you should be expecting. In a legitimate job offer, these are things that will happen later in the process. So this is another warning type of a scam. They may be offering you immediately work from home, high salary, easy duties. Again, that is the dream, of course, but if it seems too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And with disreputable companies, these are companies that may be actual companies, but we still will probably want to avoid them as a place of work. These are companies who may try to ensnare you with restrictive contracts, or require fees from you. They may guarantee employment placement. That's also another sign of a company that you may want to try to avoid. They may make a big deal out of offering like paid training, housing, airfare. There are legitimate companies that offer these types of things, but again, like if they're offering them immediately, these are some signs of something that you want to be a little wary of, especially if you've never heard of this company's name before. And we'll give you some other tips and tricks to recognize when the offers that seem really good, maybe, again, too good to be true. All right, so let's talk some scam warning signs. There are a couple of slides of this, so we have 8 warning signs that we're going to look through. The first one we're going to talk about is their outreach method. And that means that they've sent it from like a generic email domain. If you get an email from like a Gmail or Hotmail account, and by Hotmail, I guess I mean Outlook at this point, legitimate companies will not be emailing from Gmail. We want to make sure that the domain names match. So if you get an email from, say, like applehiring.com, and you notice that on the website, for example, everyone just seems to have an apple.com email address, that's another sign of a scam. So they may say, oh, I can't get to my work email at the moment. That's still a sign of a scam. Legitimate employers will not be using email accounts that don't match their domain. Also, unfortunately, being contacted via text. A lot of times this is a sign of a scam, especially if you have included your phone number on a publicly posted resume. That is a sign of a scam if they contact you via text. Not always, but sometimes. Again, these are all signs. So legitimate employers, when they do outreach to someone that they are interested in hiring or interested in interviewing, This will be done through a trackable company account. So again, this is most likely going to come from an email. They may contact you on LinkedIn. We'll talk a little bit about how to do a little research on that later. Okay, so an offer without an application. So if they say, if you get an offer or you get a request for an interview from an employer and you don't really remember applying for that job, this is why keeping track of all the places you apply is really strongly recommended. But if you get an offer from a company where you're not sure where they got your information or why they're reaching out to you, and if you ask and they say they got your resume from some sort of database or from a random place online, that is another warning sign of a potential scam. So, especially if you receive an offer for employment without actually having applied, legitimate employers will need you to submit a formal application. So, if you ever receive an offer for employment, just based on some resume that they found somewhere, just know that this is another warning sign of a scam because you should not be receiving offers for jobs for which you have not yet applied. So another sign of an interview or another sign of a scam is in the interview. So they can do interviews. Again, most scammers are trying to prey on stressors of students. They know students are exhausted by interviews. They know that you want to get through this quickly. You want it to be as painless as possible, and legitimate employers do too. But their interview process is usually a lot more rigorous than those of scammers. Scammers are trying to get your money as quickly as they can or ensnare you as quickly as they can. So if they do offer an interview, there will be just one, and it will be short. Another sign is that you don't meet with anyone in person. It may be via text or email. Another sign of a scam, as well as just submitting an assignment or video only, and then receiving an offer. These, again, signs of a scam. A legitimate employer wants to ensure that you are the right fit for their organization. So unfortunately, for timing and stressors, interviews for legitimate organizations will usually be a little longer. They may incorporate questions via text or email, or an assignment you have to complete, or a video submission, but that will not be the only thing you do before receiving an offer. Another sign of a scam is a rushed response required. So again, scammers are trying to get what they want as quickly as possible, and they know that you are stressed out about finding jobs. So they're going to try to push for an answer quickly. They may ask for your decision during the interview. They may give you only like a day or two to respond. These, again, signs of a scam, because legitimate employers want to be sure you have time to consider. They may be operating on a tight deadline. But if you ever receive a demand that you have to respond by the next day, or you have to respond by the end of the interview, or the job will be, given to someone else, that's a sign of a scam, because again, legitimate employers want to be sure that you are the person they want to hire for their organization. A couple more scam warning signs are that they ask you to send money. If an organization asks you to send them gift cards to hold your place as their candidate, or if they ask you for your bank information during the interview or shortly thereafter, these are, again, all signs of a scam. There are some very common things that prey on students where they are asking you to cash checks, to send them money, to send money to others. Again, warning sign of a scam right there. Providing bank information is something that you will do, but it will come much later as part of the hiring process. When you're talking with their human resources, when you're filling out paperwork, don't give them any information about your bank until you're going through the hiring process and you've determined that this is a legitimate employer, because they don't need to move company money in and out of personal accounts. And this may be, they may try to sell it as this is something that, they're just doing temporarily, or it's a new business. Still, a well-run business, a well-run legitimate business has their own finances ready to go. So just know that if you see any of these signs, that could also very likely potentially be a scam. Also, we're going to look a little bit at suspicious reviews. We'll look at those on the next slide here. But if you're looking up a company just to see what it's like to work there, and you notice that the reviews are very repetitive, or they all seem to be very short, give great reviews, especially if the cons listed in the reviews are, I can't think of any. This is just a great place to work all around. As you probably know, people don't tend to just completely approve or disapprove of something and rate it online. So this is something that could be, again, the sign of a scam. And we'll look at those in more detail on the next slide. But legitimate employers typically tend to have mixed reviews and a lot of detail, or at least some verifiable detail in their reviews. So we'll look at those next slide, but let's talk about a little bit about what we call questionable curation. So another sign of a scam is that the company is training you to hire you out to other companies. Now, this isn't to say that training programs are necessarily a sign of a scam, but if the company is hiring you only to guarantee placement at another company, this could potentially be a sign of one of those disreputable companies that we talked about earlier, especially if they are the ones who are in charge of your resume. If they are representing you to other companies by, telling them what you will be able to do after your training, by they will be updating or altering your resume to show skills that you don't yet have, that is a sign of a scam or a disreputable company. Legitimate employers, and the rest of that appears to be gone, but legitimate employers are where you are actually working for an organization. This is especially important for international students who will be working on OPT. You'll want to talk with OIS about that, but usually if your company is sort of basically training you so that you can work at another company, that may not be one that's eligible for OPT. So double check that, and just know that if you see that, that's a potential disreputable company. So most companies will make you sign a contract, but you'll want to look at that contract. And if you have questions, we're happy to look at it with you, because sometimes they will try to get you to commit to a specific period of time. Now, there are employers who definitely do this and who are legitimate, but if there is a financial penalty or they threaten you with a lawsuit in the contract if you decide to leave early, if they require someone else to sign the contract with you as a guarantee that you will work for this period of time, then again, that is a sign of a disreputable company. Legitimate companies will be contracting with you only. You are the only person who should be involved in the contract with the company. They also understand that usually the cost of doing business is that potentially, employees may decide to leave or go elsewhere. You should be able to do that without penalty or lawsuit. Again, there are some companies who do this, but that is a warning sign of a potential company that you may not want to work for. And again, of course, we are happy to look over any contracts you have or anything that you receive. And remember, of course, you should have some time to look over the contract before making your decision, because again, disreputable companies want you to make your decision quickly, so that they can get you as quickly as possible. But legitimate companies will give you time to look over a contract, have other people potentially look over it, and make sure that everything is a good fit for both you and for them. So let's talk about those reviews. So we talked about how there are potentially sometimes suspicious reviews that can tip you off that a company is either not what they claim to be, or that they are not a great place to work. So we're looking at some red flags here. I use the site glassdoor.com to look up a potential scam company. And these are some indicators that I found in the reviews. So this company has 35 reviews. They are all pretty similar. So you can see they've got pretty much the same title. They've got a great number of stars, 4 to 5 stars. Um, the the um, the titles of the employees are very different. So one of them is a principal cyber engineer, and the other is a forklift operator. So probably working in like the warehouse, but still they're listed as great places to work, and nothing much changes between the two types of reviews. So the pros that they have listed are very generic. Usually when you're wanting to give an actual honest review of the place you work, you're going to go into some detail. But these folks have just said, colleagues are great to work with, plenty of smart people. And usually if you like a place, that's part of what's going on there. So these are very generic, not a lot of detail pros going on in their reviews. Um, and as we mentioned earlier, one of the signs of a potential red flag review is that they can't think of any cons. When is the last time you were anywhere where you couldn't think of anything that could be improved, at least? So usually if people leave reviews, they're either very excited about it and want to go into a lot of detail about the pros, and maybe they can't think of any cons. But a lot more times, people are leaving reviews about the places they work because they want to give a balanced review of both good and bad things. So seeing reviews like this, very similar, very highly rated, very generic pros, lack of any significant cons, that's a potential red flag, especially if you see more than one. Here are some others. We've got, again, like the similar titles, similar 5-star ratings. And sometimes you can see the one on the right has, again, that same type of review, very generic, great working environment. There are no cons, great place to work. And then this one on the left here has some kind of unusual wording, at least for the pros and cons. So again, looking at like the wording and the phrasing of these things, these could be things that people just filled out randomly or as quickly as possible. We want to be able to ensure that if someone has actually been working for this employer for, this period of time, that they are actually giving significant information about the company and not just sort of oddly phrased, very generic half sentences. Okay, so a couple more scam warning signs are number one, that they ask you for personal information. And I'm actually going to go through these one by one because it's very important. If they ask you, and this is not like paperwork you are filling out after the hiring process, like you've gone through interviews, you applied for the job, you went through an interview, maybe you went through 2 interviews. So these are definitely all warning signs of a scam if they ask you for this personal information before basically you're working with their hiring person. Social security number. No company, no organizations should need your social security number until you are filling out hiring paperwork. So if you are getting these questions before you have been hired, during the interview, do not give them this information. They should not need your bank information during the hiring process, not until you're actually filling out the paperwork for your paycheck. They should not need your credit card information at all. Even if they are going to be sending you things to start work, this is all something that a legitimate company should have budgeted for. They should not need your credit card information at any point. They should also not need your driver's license information. If they are running a phishing scam, this is a great way to get information about you, to look up information. This is not information that a company should need to have unless you are like actually driving for this company. And again, this should all be part of the hiring process when you're working with HR, should never be asked for in an interview or anytime before then. They don't need to know your birth date. This may seem odd, but they should not ever need to know how old you are. That's one of those questions that you can't really ask during the hiring process. So asking for your birth date, again, all of these things potentially signs of a scam. Also, they ask you questions that could be like common security questions. You know, what was the name of your sixth grade teacher? What was your mother's maiden name? Where did your parents meet? Things like that, that could be potential answers to your security questions that you use on bank websites, that you use, you know, for other prompts. Um, Answers to those, just be aware of what you have currently, and just know that, again, if they're asking for those things, big sign of a scam right there. Also, if they say that no experience is necessary. So remember that sign of a scammer, again, who, if they want your money, you know, no experience is necessary. Either we will train you or the job duties are very vague or very easy. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If they're hiring for something where they actually want someone with your skills, a little bit of experience, at least education wise, will be necessary. Suspicious salary too. So if you, a lot of organizations now are posting salaries ahead of time, just so people can have a little more equity and or equitable knowledge of what they're getting into. If the work, again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If they pay very, very well for very little or very simple work, that's a sign of a potential scam. Also, if there are huge ranges in the possible salaries that they post, if you could make between $25,000 and $100,000 at this job, that's another potential sign of a scam. If you ever need help finding out what the reasonable salary is for a specific job, we're here to help. We have some of that information and can help you determine whether this is legitimate or if it's a little bit questionable. Also, we're going to talk about what are the signs of a real recruiter. So if you are on LinkedIn, especially, you may see a lot of contact from recruiters who are not, again, not as specifically reputable or working for reputable companies. And some of the signs of that we'll get into a little more in the next couple of slides. But if you see a giant tag cloud in their posts of keywords and unrelated phrases to what they're hiring for, that's a sign of a scam. And we'll look at an example of that. You can also, if you go to the recruiter's profile on LinkedIn, and you see that they don't have any listed skills or endorsements in that section of their LinkedIn profile, that's a potential sign of a scam. They could just be very early in their career, of course, but usually recruiters are on LinkedIn because they are using that as like their platform for hiring, for showing off their skills, for proving that they are, you know, working for this organization. And it's a very big deal for them to have both skills and endorsements listed. Something that we're seeing now as well also is like AI created recruiter profiles. So if a person does not have any skills or endorsements from other colleagues, that's a sign of a potential scam or, you know, disreputable company recruiter. If you don't have any shared connections with this person, that's a potential sign of a scam. Usually recruiters will be looking sort of like within their connections. So if you don't have any, it's not, if you don't have any connections, that's not to say that a recruiter is a scammer. It's just, again, it's another one of those signs that can add up. So just be aware of all of these issues. And, you know, if you ever have questions, let us know. Most recruiters also, again, if they are reputable recruiters, they will have LinkedIn Premium. This obviously not always the case for all companies, but again, that's another sign that this is potentially not a reputable recruiter, not someone who does this professionally, or a disreputable company if the recruiter does not have LinkedIn Premium. LinkedIn Premium is a big tool for recruiters. If you are recruiting for a reputable company, That's really one of the indispensable things that you need to have as a recruiter. So that's another sign. Also, if they send you links, make sure that you are hovering over these links before you click on them. For phishing scams, this is a really popular way to sort of start getting into your business. So look at the URLs that they send you before clicking on them. If they say that they are sending you a link to a job for, say, a UX designer, can you find this job elsewhere on the company's website? Is this something they are actually hiring for, or is this just potentially a link that might take you somewhere else? It's always possible to ask a recruiter to contact you in a different way. So we will talk a little bit about how that potentially could be helpful in the next few slides. So let's take a look at some disreputable recruiters. But first of all, let's look at reputable recruiters. So this is a recruiter for a specific company. And we go to this person's profile, we can see all of the right things that we needed to see. And we can look and see, okay, so this is a post they made looking for some folks to fill these roles. There are a fair number of tags on there, but they're related to the roles that this person is hiring for. So let's go through it and say we've got their job title. So we see that they are they're part of the technical recruiting team at Duolingo. Just having their title is, and especially if it's a very specific title like technical recruiting, having that in their profile is a great indicator that this person is legit. Also, they mentioned the specific company for which they are hiring. A lot of disreputable recruiters may not mention the name of the company, or they may say several companies. So just know that recruiters will usually be working just for one company, especially if they're making posts like this where they are hiring for specific roles at specific companies. They mentioned specifically the roles that they need filled. And again, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 roles, totally reasonable number. They're not hiring for every type of employment ever. That's another sign of a disreputable recruiter if they're just applying, or they're just hiring for basically a million different types of jobs. They also invite you to connect with them in a substantial way. So what I mean by in a substantial way is that they've actually asked people to reach out to them or apply directly. So if you have questions, this person wants to hear from you. They want to answer your questions. They want you to apply for the role. They're not just offering it to you. They're also not asking you to comment and like or reply interested. All of those are basically, when you see those in a post, they are basically just ways to create engagement. That's what the person is being paid for. So if there's no invitation to connect with them or to apply individually, then know that that's a potential sign of a scam. Again, they've got a lot of tags there. They are relevant tags. These are tags that are going to get them in front of people who are looking for specific types of jobs that they want to talk to. So they know who they want for these jobs, so they're using relevant specific tags. There's also a link to an application site. And I hovered over this. It's legit. It does go to that actual URL where you can apply for things at Duolingo. So this hits all the check marks. This is a specific company's recruiter. This is a post that I would feel pretty confident about, saying that this was a real person hiring for actual jobs at actual Duolingo. Another thing you might see too that is also legitimate is a manager or an employee at this company. So this person also works, let's see here. Yeah, so they also work in tech and they are looking for entry-level positions in data engineering. This person is not a technical recruiter, but they do work at this company. They know about this job and they want to hire people for it, or they want people to apply for it. You can see that this person has their job title in their profile heading. So this is a person we know that works at this organization. We've gone to her profile. We've seen all the other stuff that she has done. So these are, this is a legitimate person working for this organization. They mention again the specific position that they're hiring for. This is common to see from managers or employees, people who are not necessarily doing the hiring, but do know what positions are needed. So they're saying, we need someone to do this job, and I'd like to promote it. So here it is. They have some relevant tags in there. Again, so they're looking hiring, data engineering, and this was posted at the time that the Grace Hopper convention was going on. So that, hey, this gets in front of the people who are at the, so they've put in their tech jobs and GHC 23. And of course, they've got that link to the job description and the application site. So you can go to this site. Again, you're hovering over it, making sure it's the actual site. If you go to LexisNexis Risk Solutions Careers, you could find this on your own. You could also look up, entry-level data engineer, and it would appear on their site. So this is a legitimate job posting from someone who won't be doing the hiring, but who knows about a position that's open at their company. I'm sorry, I should have asked. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Looks like nothing so far, Megan.
Okay, great. Then I'm doing a great job and I will continue. Again, and also you see the specific company that this person is hiring for, or that this person is talking about. It's not just a generic offer for lots of companies or a company. It's this specific company where I work. You can also see, sometimes you'll see things that are posted from like recruiting influencers or career advice influencers. Their motive is usually to get you to do something else, like sign up for their classes or, take these workshops from them or send them money for some other reason. But sometimes they do post legitimate information. So you can see here that we've got a specific company mentioned, Figma. And this person, one of the things this person does as an influencer is try to attract attention. So they're posting information that they have found that will appeal to a large number of people. But we can also check this out. We can double check this information for ourselves. So this person is putting out a call to data scientists. Figma is looking for early career business data scientists. They've given some good information. Again, they've got the specific title that they're talking about. They've got a specific link that they're giving you where you can actually apply for this job. It gives information of, it gives information, even this person even includes information about the location, the pay, whether it's full-time, what you need as a background. So again, even if they're trying sometimes to get you to do something else, recruiting influencers, career advising influencers, they may still be a legitimate form of searching for jobs. They can give some good advice on when things are happening. They're kind of plugged into the scene. So, I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying for their courses, but they can still be a good resource. So let's look at some disreputable recruiting. Okay, so we're going to show you all the red flags on this person's post that they made on LinkedIn quite a while ago now. It's very vague. So have a sort of general hiring alert for entry level. Well, entry level what? What is this person hiring for? What company is this? We don't know. So it's just a general thing to grab your attention as a person who's probably looking for an entry-level job in tech. And they mention a company in the USA and Canada. So again, this is a sign that this person might not be a legitimate recruiter. legitimate recruiters tell you who they are hiring for, not just a company. The fact that they mention in the USA and Canada also indicates that they are targeting international students, with the deadlines that international students have to find work, with the strict requirements of what they can do for work. They know that international students are very, very high pressure, high stress to find types of work in the USA and Canada. So this is something that, again, is an indicator that this person is trying to take advantage of, especially international students who have really high need to find work in the US. There's a huge list of titles here. It's just a lot of words, again, sort of designed to attract as much attention as possible. Usually a company is not hiring for all of these all at once. Well, I mean, they could be, but they would probably mention again the name of the company. They have asked, so remember earlier when we said that there's an invitation to connect in a substantial way? This person is not, as a recruiter, asking you to give them questions, to even go somewhere and apply. They're only asking you to like and comment or request to follow. They may want you to comment interested. Again, these are all tools for just increasing their engagement, increasing their numbers. It's not a legitimate thing where they're actually trying to find specific people for these specific jobs. And this next slide we're going to look at, also, of course, there's no link provided in the actual post. So again, so that's the post. These are the tags. So there were a lot of this huge tag cloud, just very, very random tags, very vague tags. Things are repeated over and over. You'll see again, they're trying to target international students, and you can tell that with the word fresher, which is a phrase that's typically used, outside of the US for new employees. That's not a word you typically see used in the US for US employees. So again, you can see that they're commenting that they're tagging work. These are so vague. These are so odd. So seeing a huge cloud of unrelated sort of engagement boosting tags like this, that's not a sign of a legitimate recruiter. They will use those relevant tags that we talked about earlier. We also are looking at this person's profile, and we are seeing that they seem to have gone directly from finishing their bachelor's degree in computer science to one job. And they are a business development executive at this specific company where they are working right now to be a recruiter. So this is a very vague title, business development executive. It's also sort of, I don't know, it's sort of empowering them to present themselves as an executive when they may just be, doing this sort of basic generic recruiting. So this person, it does not seem like this person went to school or has any training in being a recruiter or any experience in having been a recruiter before. Not always a red flag, but in this case, when combined with everything else, a very red flag. Yes, okay, yeah, so you can see that, again, I pointed this out. This is a recent graduate, degree doesn't match the job. He had no recruiting history before this, and that sort of business development executive generic title. You can also see that all the suggestions for this person in LinkedIn, so when you look at who LinkedIn is suggesting you look at next, these are all suggestions that work at the same place, which isn't super unusual, but they all have very similar profiles, similar histories of basically completing one degree that is unrelated to recruiting and then going into this organization. All of their descriptions are exactly the same. which is again unusual. They don't have their specific titles in their profiles, and it's also the way these are phrased. It's trying to attract your attention. So all of these say, if I reviewed your profile, I probably have an exciting opportunity for you. Hiring OPT and CPT. So this again, obvious targeting international students. Um, they're trying to seem like they have talked to you already. They're trying to seem like they have exciting opportunities for you. Um, Probably a red flag that all of these are exactly the same. Okay, so all of those things are to say, like, how can I check if this is a scam? Well, obviously, there are some ways that you can search. So you can look up this company. Does it have a web presence? And does it have a web presence that is not just jobs that they're offering and reviews? So another sign of a disreputable company or scammer is that they're just trying to get your money as easily as they can, as quickly as they can. So a lot of times they will post all those fake reviews that we talked about, but they won't really have much description of what they actually do. They won't have much of a history online. So starting with a search like that, just for the company, just to find out, when it was created, what else did they do apart from just advertise for work? And it's also interesting to know if any non-recruiters work there. So on their company, you know, on LinkedIn, for example, if you click on the company and then look at their employees, you should be able to see the people who work there. Do they have just like a CEO and recruiters, or do they have people who are actually doing real jobs? Do those people have histories that line up with the jobs that they say that they're doing? So just some basic work can give you an idea of like, okay, this is an actual company. This is, something that I could feel comfortable with. You can also verify these things. You can talk with the employers, you can contact them. So say you get an offer or you get a contact from a company, you get a contact from IBM, and you're not entirely sure that this is an actual IBM employee that is contacting you. You can look at the employer's site. You can let them know the name of this person. They can confirm for you sometimes whether this person is an actual recruiter. They may know that the person is not an actual recruiter. Sometimes scammers are known to the companies. You can also ask the recruiter to contact you through a different channel. So if, for example, they text you, or if, for example, they just private message you on LinkedIn, and you start to get the feeling that this might not be a legitimate recruiter, ask them to email you. That will give you an idea of what email they're working with. If they actually want to hire you, they should, or interview you, they should be willing to send you some information through email. And that can let you know, like, what email are they using? Are they using the official domain of the company? Are they using a generic one like Outlook or Gmail? And that can give you other hints as to whether this person is legitimate or not. You can also check their phone numbers. If you are texting them or contacting them, you can see, like, is this a person who actually works at this company? You can look up and see there are dozens of sites online where you can look up and see, is this a registered scam number? So there are a lot of registries of like suspicious scam phone numbers that hundreds of people have reported. So you can see if this number is on the list of suspected scam numbers or if it seems to be legitimate. There's also an organization for companies in the US, Canada, or Mexico called the Better Business Bureau. On this organization's website, you can type in the name of a company. They have reviewed thousands of companies in these countries. Not every single company is, on this list. But again, this is a good way to check and see, if this is a company that was established in one of those three countries. Is this a company that's known? Is this a company that wants to promote themselves as legitimate and is therefore part of, this organization? So those are all three ways that you can start to do a little research on your own. If you ever get contacted by someone that you're from a company that you're not aware of, or you see any of those signs of a scam in what they're posting or how they're contacting you, this is some work that you can do on your own to check some things out. But of course, also remember that we are here to help. We are not here to judge. We know how sophisticated these scams can be. So if you feel like you may have been taken advantage of or that you suspect that something might be a scam, we are here to help. So you are welcome to call us, to email us. We can do some research with you. We can look over contracts. Don't be afraid to reach out to us because we are here to help, not here to judge. We like to know when students have encountered scammers because that helps us advise other students as well. So reporting that to us, if you've been targeted by a scam, even if you end up not, falling for the scam or working for the company, or if nothing bad happens, which we hope, let us know the name of the company. We'd like to know that. We'd like to be able to report these things. And we also like to be able to advise other students in the future because they don't stop with just you. They are also targeting your friends, your colleagues, the students who will come after you. And having that knowledge helps us as well. So here we are again. This is the student advising team. There's Julia Noonan, Sarah Brunstein, Jody Tedlock, and me, Megan Walsh. We can be reached at any of our individual email addresses or at luddycareers@iu.edu. And even after you graduate, just remember that we're here for you. We're here to answer questions. As long as you are an alumni of the Luddy School, you're still welcome to use our services. So don't hesitate to reach out, and we are here to help. And that's really the end of the presentation. So I'll stick around a little bit, and then if anyone has questions, you can let us know. Thanks for coming.
Megan,